Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We are having a conversation on engineering a safe space for our growing community. And before we took that break, one thing is coming out very evidently, that the problem is systemic. We have a huge systemic failure, you know, and I don't know how that can change. Maybe, would you say we need reforms, you know, regulatory reforms? Do we need to put policies in place that would actually impact on improving safety, especially when it comes to construction and our buildings? Is that what needs to be done now, or what way forward?
Vivian, allow me to say this. A lot of people use new reforms as a scapegoat, as an excuse. Let me put it to an extent that it's not the problem. Engineer actually mentioned already. Yeah. They are not perfect. They are good laws. In fact, I can tell you a lot of our neighbors in the region, for example, implement ideas from Kenya very well. I'll tell you, for example, development control. There's a system, it's called e-permitting. It's an online system which AAK worked with IFC about 10 years ago to bring forth. And the idea was that you need to reduce corruption. I mean, we're trying to minimize the human hand in these very sensitive matters. And of course, just to make it more, should I say formal, that if you are reading records, you don't bring documents. Like when you go to approval, you're supposed to take land search, your title. You're supposed to take so many documents, you know, to show that the land is yours and you are legitimately building on it. Yeah. But with technology, you can have all these things being referenced. So you have a database somewhere in the Ministry of Lands, and then it's referenced the department that requires the county to be able to check that. So that was really, and it's efficient and safe to use. Now, what happens is you have a situation where some counties set up the system and then someone goes and switches it off. You have somewhere where it is launched, pump and color, oh, we are now online. Then engineer goes to submit a drawing. It's not going through. Yeah. You've got the system where, oh, the service provider has not been paid. So they switch off the count, and the count is like, what's the big deal? You have the other day, I think Kiambu, they've just gone on out advertising their manual system, and they're proud of it, saying efficiency. They have actually written there efficient, then they're showing the manual process. We are in a stage where we are passing the equivalent or more of our entire wealth of the country through M-Pesa, and it has issues, and we are okay with it because we are constantly improving it. I believe Safaricom is constantly improving it, and they have issues. And yet we trust the system so much. But when it comes to something as development control, which is way more complex, that would benefit from this system, we say, oh, okay, immediately we revert back to the manual. Now, you asked about, do we really need new systems, I mean, new policies and systems? No, we don't. In fact, I can tell you that is the reason that it is being used not to do the right thing. Can we enforce the current ones? So the 2024 building code, which has taken so long because it kept being postponed in terms of development, and I congratulate engineer because that's one of the big milestones that we've done in the construction sector. Okay. But if you look back to the old code, majority of Kenyans were not complying to it. There was a provision, for example, of the maximum height of perimeter walls. Literally no one was following it. There was a lot of provisions on how the process, because the building code even tells the processes on how certain things can be handled on site, purely dealing with issues of safety, for example. The building code also gives a guideline, because even me and the engineer here use it to reference. We don't know everything that's in the building code. Okay, so now what gives a fundi somewhere the wisdom to do the things without referencing anywhere? If I have to reference, okay? So the challenge is that the existing laws are good enough.
Yeah.
The problem is issues of leadership, and it cuts across from the county, where they're supposed to be more invested in development control. The county needs to budget more for this process of urbanization. Urbanization is the only thing that is happening right now. We are looking at the majority of Nairobians, of Kenyans, will be living in urban centers. I would not be surprised by the year 2050, every county headquarters will be a city. Now, if we don't want, because this is not something, it's like a foundation. If you don't do the right foundation right now, in 2050, what will you be doing? Will we be are we ready to incur the cost of demolishing parts of the city to make them better? No. So I think right now what we need is the right leadership that starts saying, we have a building code. We have, even themselves, they have these county integrated development plans. They're not following them. We have the national spatial plans, for example. What does it say? And how does it affect the spaces that we are building? So once we comply with that, then we can find what are the gaps. And stop this business of saying that if it can work in Kigali, it can work in Kenya. But the flip is true, literally. Rwanda took the system, they benchmarked in Kenya of e-permitting. And theirs is so efficient, you can get approval within a matter of days. Okay. In Kenya, we are talking about months, weeks, and if you are lucky, never. If you are very unlucky, never. Yeah.
Engineer Shammah, you're also of the idea, because I saw you nodding as President Arabbu was speaking. You're also of the same idea that we don't need any more, and we don't need any regulatory reforms.
Yeah, just to be fair, a lot of work has been done in this space in terms of developing instruments, and we have sufficient. What I know we lack is leadership. Okay. And I believe we need to look entirely into our value system. You know, that which causes me to compromise a basic thing like approval process, which ends up killing people. Let's ask ourselves about our value systems. For me, now I know corruption is killing us literally. Dramatically, when buildings are collapsing because corruption has been involved, but also slowly because we are now compromising supplies in hospitals, and those are killing us. We are allowing wrong designs in our roads, and we are having accidents, and we are killing ourselves. Inspection, probably you're supposed to do the proper inspection for vehicles and ensure proper checks so that when this thing moves, it is safe, and it is killing us. Because we literally can buy anything. And therefore, we just need as a country to wake up and agree. How much can we tolerate? And then become like citizen watching. Whenever there's a problem, we can pick it up, point it out, because this, if it is not affecting me now, it will affect me later. My brother, my relative will die in that building that I'm seeing being done in a manner that is compromising. We have developed very many instruments, and I will tell you, even the Institution of Engineers of Kenya has developed a site inspection handbook. Yeah. This site inspection handbook works in line with the existing laws. We do not need to invent any law. We have Physical and Land Use Planning Act, which anchors the approval process. We have the National Construction Authority, under which National Building Code is anchored. What we did, working together with the Council of Governors and National Construction Authority, we developed a tool that can be used in a construction site to do the necessary checks. And these checks include architectural, include structural, geotechnical, mechanical, electrical, and environmental, health, safety, and environment, and general quality assurance. So we're saying the instruments available are sufficient. They are sufficient. What we are lacking is enforcement, compliance, and perhaps awareness that the malaise of corruption is now literally killing us and finishing us. Because, look, if we have to stop this thing, someone has to say, this is affecting all of us. Over 200 lives lost, over 3 billion lost in investments. You know, this has to stop at some point. Yeah. And then when it stops, we will come and realize we were actually taking ourselves down deliberately. All that has been work, I can guarantee, Vivian, is sufficient to guarantee a safe built environment in this country.
So the problem is just the implementation. Everything has been put in place, you know, properly.
And enforcement.
And enforcements. Wow, I wonder how far away from getting to that point we are. But hopefully things are going to change. You talked about the handbook. So who needs the handbook?
This site inspection handbook, it is needed by the contractor on site, because they will check and make sure their work they are doing is safe. It complies with the building code, it complies with the Physical and Land Use Planning Act, it complies with, because the design, structural design has to comply with some standards, the mechanical, electrical design and all that. So the contractor needs it. But also the counties who carry out inspections, they need it. Equally important, and that's why we worked with Council of Governors, but also important the National Construction Authority, because it carries out inspections. They need it. And I can tell you, this does not do anything new. It just brings what we have in the existing laws and make sure that it is put in a form of checklists.
Yeah.
When you go through it, then you make sure that your building complies. The other important thing, it makes sure the person carrying out the inspection has to own it. So the architect who is registered, licensed, experienced and qualified will sign. The structural engineer who is registered, licensed, experienced and qualified will sign. The mechanical engineer, the electrical engineer, and therefore you have a way of holding someone accountable for the works that are happening on site. And therefore it's just an additional effort saying, we have all the laws. Can we find a way of being on site and making sure there's compliance? And then it becomes part of the record for that building. Because remember, after construction, you need a certificate of occupation for the building to be put in use. Certificate of occupation, prima facie, should be evidence that the building complied with all the stages. The professionals were involved. The necessary checks for materials were done. Everything was done. And therefore, when you see the certificate of occupation, as you move into that building, it's a safe building. And therefore, this is a process that as Institution of Engineers of Kenya, we have just tried to make it easy for Kenyans, for everyone involved in the construction sector.
All right. Is there a way, or is there something that an ordinary citizen can be able to look out for, you know, in order for them to know whether a building is safe or not? Can I just get into a building and know, is this safe or not? Is there a way? Is there something I can be looking out for as an ordinary citizen?
Vivian, I think that's an important question, and perhaps that's what we should have all discussed. The only thing we should have discussed. And engineer mentioned the issue of information. You know, where AK is having a lot of discussions with the resident associations to empower them with information in terms of what to do and what to look out for. And at the same time, we have a platform called Mulika Mujengo, which is for reporting, you know, what you see. You know, it doesn't have to be accurate, but you can see something is wrong. So it mentions some of the things that you can see, and you're able to report and say, this is going on. And I would say that not everything is obvious. If in most construction, I'm sure if the Kenyans who have built, their fundis always have this term, if you see something wrong, they'll tell you, don't worry, tutafunika na plaster. Because we are used not to be so refined with the process that we will cover mistakes. But just to remember, to remind people that it's a cost. Every time you have to fix that mistake, it's a cost. So we also have at AAK something called Healthy Homes Guidelines and Checklists, where we have about 15 pillars. They are basic things, and we've spoken quite a bit to some of them. Something, for example, like daylight. If you have to put on light in your house or in a room during the day, that is already a red flag. Because daylight is important for our health. It is not, it's not a luxury, okay? Good lighting, electrical lighting is good for at night or during those overcast days, but you need daylight. If you cannot get cross ventilation, fresh air into a space, okay, if it's feeling like it's musty, you can just smell stale air. Maybe in the morning when you wake up and you open the windows, even when you open the windows, it's still not feeling, you can't smell fresh air. That is already a red flag right there. You need to check out for thermal comfort. Thermal comfort is where, does it always feel maybe too cold? Constantly, you know, there's some houses where you go in, even in a hot sun, and then you feel like you get at the fridge, okay? And then it's uncomfortably cold even at night. So this is what I'm calling thermal comfort. Of course, in some cases, it could be maybe the building is made out of poor quality materials. Like maybe someone has just used mabati in a hot space, and then it's too hot. So it can be too hot or too cold. There is a regular temperature, an average temperature that a human being thrives. I mean, if you go to most public schools in Kenya right now, in some hot areas, it's difficult for kids to concentrate because it's mabati roof, and then it's very hot, and then the kids can't concentrate. So your productivity is lowered. So, and all this applies for offices and even buildings. If people are always getting migraines, I know of a case where the basement of a building was built such that the fumes from the car park were coming into the office spaces, and most people were complaining in that office of headaches, and a lot of times they were off. And when an environmental design consultant was invited, they actually identified the problem because what they had done is that there was some ventilation at the roof, and they had blocked them because someone thought they didn't want it to get cold and all those weird things. So the hot air that was building up in the space wasn't escaping. And it was a very simple solution. So the science behind what we call building the buildings is simple, but it has to be identified. So these are some of the things, and if the public can go to our website, check out that Healthy Homes Guidelines pillars. We have outlined them. But also we have said that people need to be able to be empowered to know what a good building is, what a good space is, what the processes are, how to look out for good materials. And sometimes it becomes complex that you need an expert. But the general information that we are giving is that don't look at the superficial things. If a real estate agent shows you to a room and the first thing they do is switch on the lights, that should be a red flag. You should walk into a space, and if it's during the day, you don't need to switch on the lights for you to appreciate the space.
Yeah. There's something, President Arabbu, you had mentioned earlier, and I would also like Engineer Shammah to weigh in on that. It's on the same thing you've just, concluded on, and it's on, you mentioned that, when someone is buying a car, there's information about the car. Everything you need to know about this car, its history, it's all there, laid down. So is there something we can do for us to get to a point when, or to a point where, as I'm going around looking at houses, I can be able to have information of this house? And if it's information, what kind of information should I get of the house?
Wow. Very important question you've asked, Vivian, to be honest. When you were issuing our statement as built environment professionals, we came together, all of us, and issued a statement. One of the things that we have emphasized collectively is a national platform or a system that there is openness of sharing information about buildings. We feel strongly about that because, like you already alluded, you can go to NTSA and trace your car history
Yes.
through the logbooks. Billings are equally vital. And at one point, we decided to look for a place to stay. And we decided to move around to look for places to stay. I'm telling you, my family, we searched. Because I now know, as an expert in the field, I know a sick building where there is no ventilation. It is always damp. Lighting, natural lighting is not there and all that. And I can tell you we searched until, because we just wanted to move from one place to another. Where we were, the building had very nice ventilation, cross ventilation, very nice natural lighting. It was done by a professional. I'm telling you we searched. We only got one building out of very many that we searched. And then we decided not to move until we built ours, which met the specifications that we want. Because we appreciate the need not to subject kids to unhealthy living conditions because of lighting, ventilation, stuff like that. And therefore, the question of having information available about that building is necessary. We advocate for it. And that is why the electronic systems become necessary. In fact, we should have a register for all buildings available, where you can check, that building involve professionals? Did that building get certificate of occupation? Therefore, if it got certificate of occupation, you know it is compliant and all that. But the other thing, and I need to emphasize to Kenyans, if you have any doubt, we expect, as experts we are available, we can carry audit. We also have ISK, it has professionals in that sector. We can carry an audit. I can do a structural audit for your building and ascertain. I can do non-destructive tests and ascertain whether your building is safe or not, based on the occupancy and the load that is going to be subjected to. And if you doubt, even environmentally, we have experts in environmental design. They can come and check. We have architects. We have mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. They can check all aspects if you have any doubt. And so, most critical is the fact that you are satisfied that as you move into that building, it is safe for occupation. And I've done so many structural audits. Someone wants to buy a building, they tell me, Mr. Engineer, Bon Engineer, is this building safe for me? So I come in, I carry structural investigations, and I produce structural integrity report and stuff like that. Now, telltale signs, already, in addition to what my colleague President has alluded, if you have been staying in a building and all of a sudden, building your stage starts developing cracks, it tells you something is happening, and serious cracks. If you've been staying in a building and all of a sudden the doors could open properly and now they start opening with difficulty, it tells you there are some movements in that building and you need to know what is happening. For example, the door was opening well, now it is opening with difficulty and all that. Windows, for example. So there are telltale signs you can tell. Ordinarily, a building should settle, and settling means after it has been built, within a cycle of a year, it should settle. So any cracks subsequent to that, they're telling you some additional movements are happening. And therefore, there are all those manner of checks you should have. But when in doubt, engage a building professional, a structural engineer, an architect, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, to actually carry out tests. Because we can do tests, non-destructive tests, and if the building is okay, we give you a clean bill of health. If there are enhancements that needs to be done for it to be safe, we'll also recommend to you, and so that you can do them. And therefore, yes, there are all those manner of things that we are dealing with, and like I alluded, the availability of a national building register where I can check if I want to buy this building. It's a challenge we need to face so that we can assure our clients, our users, of the condition of the buildings they're staying in.
All right.
Vivian, if I may, just adding on to that,
Right.
I think President mentioned the press that we had. And we actually called for all counties to have a public register of high-risk projects that are ongoing, because that is information that needs to be in the public eye. That if there are buildings being constructed in my town, I should know how they're being constructed, who are the consultants, who is the developer. I think this is something that's required. The other thing is, and it's very important, that if you are a developer, if you are a builder, if you are investing in this, once the contractor or the building team has finished, they should give you a drawing that is updated. Remember, you have the drawing that you submitted and you started building with.
Yes.
But things change during construction because of various needs. So there is a drawing called as built. They basically measure what they have done, and then you remain with it. And that is not just architectural, not just an architectural plan. It also has the structural, it shows the structural elements, including the foundation, how it was done. If the depth increased from a meter to 1.5, it also shows electrical lines, where they're passing, because you can't see them. And very importantly, the register is talking about, you know, banks right now, you can't borrow money using a house which is not approved. Yeah, when you go to get a loan from the bank, they'll require that you have a stamp from a qualified QS on the cost of the house, the drawings are approved. So we can use this aspect of financing as a way of making sure these reports, because the quality of the house can only be as good as the information that's available about that house.
Okay.
Yes.
We need to wind up on the conversation. Maybe your final remarks each, 30 seconds each.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vivian and KBC, for having this session. I really think it's very important. Our emphasis is really on the developer. Please know that you are involved in putting up a structure that is going to carry lives of people. Do no development without involving professionals. If we resolve that, we will have achieved a lot. Number two, the counties. Planning is a devolved function. Please staff the planning departments. Have the position of chief planner, the position of chief architect, the position of chief engineer staffed, and let the process of approval make or add value to building safety. Let us not reduce approval process to revenue generation for counties. If we have to stop this problem of collapsing, counties are very vital, and I'm very glad the Institution of Engineers of Kenya worked with the Council of Governors in developing site inspection handbook, because we know the criticality of the counties. And most importantly, as Kenyans and all of us, it's our responsibility. Let us drop these shortcuts, because we have seen they're killing us. It is very costly to do the wrong thing, because to amend that, it is almost, impossible, and if you achieve, it is very costly.
All right, thank you.
For me, I think good things take time. It's very true to buildings. Buildings are done for long periods of time, and they're supposed to outlive even the builder and the occupants. So we need to do the right processes. We need to use the right information. There's no rush. If you get money today and you know that there's a need, out there for housing, that should not be your impetus. The most important thing is that what is the output and the quality of the housing, as in some cases where quality of houses actually degrades because of the way the process was done. But if you do the right way, the value of those houses improve over time.
All right, thank you so very much, Engineer Shammah and President Arabbu, for joining us and for shedding light on this very important conversation. This is where we end Good Morning Kenya. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.